Here we are on location in Naperville, Illinois at this week's Quick Start Real Estate School for this week's Ask Ron.
Got a good group of people here, don't we?
Question...
Most of them.
Question number one is from David.
Hey, David. Where's David from?
Mississippi.
Okay.
And it's about boarded up houses.
All right.
What's the best deal to try to do with boarded up houses? I know these fall into the ugly house category and wholesaling, but if they are boarded up and sitting there with city code violations, shouldn't they be quick, cheap, and easy to get?
Yeah. But the answer to what you do with them, David, depends on what kind of neighborhood they're in. If they're in a neighborhood where qualified people want to buy houses and can qualify for a loan, they might be better for rehab candidates as long as you can get them cheap enough. And if you can't get a boarded up house cheap enough, you don't want to buy it at all. The fact that it's boarded up drives down its value, perceived and otherwise. So, but the fact that it's boarded up doesn't mean it's in terrible condition either. I found that many houses that are boarded up are in better shape than ones that aren't, because the vandals can't get in there to destroy the place. Plus, look at all the plywood you get when you buy it for free. So I'm not afraid of boarded up houses. I'm attracted to them. But if they're in a war zone or a semi-war zone, the only exit is wholesaling them, probably to landlords or maybe even owner-occupants. So you really got to buy them so cheap, you can sell them so cheap, your buyers can't refuse them. If, however, they're in a decent rehabbing neighborhood, I'd consider that. Now the problem is, usually where you find boarded up houses are not conducive of rehabbing and retailing to qualified buyers. So when you can answer that question, maybe that'll tell you what to do with the houses. At the very least, wholesale them.
All right. Question number two is from Andreas in New York.
Andreas.
And he has a question. Could you explain this deal for wholesaling? Should I pass on it or not? It's $69,000 as is.
Okay.
Property is being sold with a mortgage lien attached.
Okay.
Buyer would have to offer a third-party settlement to the bank to remove the lien or set up a short sale with the original mortgagor. It usually ends up being about half. So he wants to know if he should wholesale that deal or pass on it.
How would I know? You don't tell me what the liens are. You don't tell me much of anything. You don't give me any math to work with. It's kind of probably going to be up to you anyway. First of all, I'm not convinced that I've got to settle with the lien holder to satisfy the lien. Why can't I just take it over with the house? And if I can take it over with the house, I can also sell it with a lien already on it, and maybe get somebody to give me some money and I go away. I just don't know. I don't have enough information to answer the question. You're leaving out half the facts and expect me to give you a whole answer. Sorry, I'm not in the mood to make stuff up for you today.
All right. That should help you out some, Andreas.
I doubt it.
Question number 3 is from Ted in Tennessee.
Hey, Ted.
Determining land ARV for wholesale. How do we determine ARV, which is ARV, for the land that we intend to wholesale? Right. I reached out to a realtor and they sent me every listing in the MLS for land in that zip code.
Well, same way you do with a house. You have to find land that's similar and compare it the best you can. So if you're wholesaling it, you need to know what it's worth so you can figure out whether you're agreeing to buy it at a price cheap enough. And comps is the only way to do it. There is no other way. So you're going to have to decide which of those that the realtor sent you are actual comps. Why don't you get the realtor to help you decide which are actual comps? Get their opinion on it. And then at least you have a better answer than you have right now. If they'll take the time to send it to them, they ought to take the time to help you decide. Because honestly, you better make sure you compare it apples to apples, not apples to oranges. You can't compare a little piece of residential land to a piece of commercial land. There's no comparison there. So it'd have to be like kind compared to like kind. In other words, this zoning compared to the same zoning, same use for the land. You better get some help on that one. Of course, you can put it under contract and try to wholesale it, and they're either going to buy it or they're not going to buy it. You'll know pretty quickly.
All right, and then this is the final question for this week's Ask Ron. It's from Valerie in Florida. She says, I am a realtor working with an international buyer. We have almost come to an agreement. The problem is the seller is selling it to another investor, and then within 30 days, That investor is going to sell it to my investor.
Okay.
The other realtor is insisting on the home inspection to be done within 7 days of the contract execution by my investor, because their due diligence will be up in 7 days. Why?
Why what?
She just says, why? My investor buyer wants a 15-day inspection.
Well, if you want a 15-day inspection, you have to put that in your agreement. You can always get the first party to extend it to 15 days, but 7 days is enough. You don't need but 2 or 3 days to get a home inspection on a house, and then you're going to have your answer one way or the other. You don't really need 15 days.
All right, so that concludes this week's Ask Ron.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next week. If you haven't already heard, maybe if you get this on Friday morning, I'm doing a simulcast today from 12 to 2 on rehabbing houses. So if you get it in time, make sure you tune in. Get a hold of us, and you probably already got an email on it anyway. That is assuming that we're not all blown away by Irma, it's heading our way. So that's why we're doing it today instead of waiting on Tuesday when it was projected to be done. See, we don't even know we're going to be around Tuesday. We might blow away by then. So we decided we'd deliver this to you before we get blown away. That's just the kind of folks we are. We don't want you to miss this simulcast. Anyway, with all that baloney aside, see you next week.